when I've spoken to a lot of autistic people, other than our mindfulness sessions, which have been delivered by an autistic person, and I've had very good reports from, a lot of autistic adults that I know have said that they really struggle with mindfulness. They struggle trying to actually do it. The minute they think that they should be doing a mindful activity, they then really don't feel that way at all. So this is something that's really important, is you could try mindfulness in a sort of roundabout way. So you could try doing flow activities. And this is that word that I said that I'm going to really struggle with to say. So Csikszentmihalyi my high, something like that, his name. Anybody want to do it for me? It's better. Any takers? No. So he came up with this idea of flow and psychological flow. And I've talked about it a few times in terms of mental health, and then realised myself that I wasn't doing it. So it's good for everybody's mental health, but it might be a better way for you to do it, and do mindfulness as an autistic individual. I'll show you this quote here. Oh, just get mine. So cultivating flow as a mental habit of happiness. And it's something that I've been advising to lots of people, and then realised I wasn't really doing it myself. And it's very individual. So for me, you can see my piano here. So for me, I get flow when I'm playing French piano music, classical music, so Chopin, Debussy. A friend who I met for dinner last night, she gets flow when she's running. That for me would not give me flow at all. It would have the exact opposite effect on me. But lots of people I know do get it with flow, do get it with running. Jack's experiencing it at the moment with chess. Again, that would not work for me. He starts to explain chess to me and I'm like, it's the opposite of flow. So really it is a very personal thing, and taking the time to realise what your flow activity is. Another one for me is reading journal articles, autism journal articles, which some people would think that was strange. Linda Buchanan might also experience that. So I love sitting there with my highlighter pen and my journal article. Printed copy, it's got to be, not on my screen, and I'm highlighting. But it could be your Kindle, it could be knitting, could be doing any activity like that. So that the key factors are that it's got to be something that absorbs you, that it's not so easy that you don't have to really think about it, but not so hard that it puts you off. So that's where the chess kind of falls down for me. So it's a mental state of being where you are completely absorbed or in the zone. That lovely feeling that you get where you stop thinking about your emails or what you need to do. So I realised that my mental health was going a bit off kilter, working too hard. So I realised I needed to factor in somewhere swimming. So I'm restarted that a couple of times a week, and that works for me. So somewhere about 15 minutes in, I stopped thinking about my emails or what I've got to do. So it's more likely to be experienced when the activity is neither too demanding or too easy, and where there are clear goals and feedback. So it could be playing an instrument. Interestingly, we quite often worry, or I get reports of carers worrying about their autistic family members gaming too much, but actually you could be experiencing flow whilst you're gaming. So, sometimes we do worry about things that perhaps we don't need to, but it will become clear. So the effort required to navigate through the world, and I think just sometimes it's good to bring it back to actually, what autistic people experience in their day-to-day life. And this is something that comes up time and time again. Many autistic individuals use their cognition to work out the unwritten social rules that govern interaction. So they are seeming to pull it off on the surface. You've got those individuals where it's obvious they're not pulling it off, but then you've got lots of individuals where on the surface they're seeming to, but they're doing it all top down. So they're doing it by cognition. It's requiring a lot of effort, a lot of thought. They're going through scripts in their head. They're constantly rehearsing what somebody might say and how they're going to respond. And on the surface, they're appearing to pull it off, but there's a cost. has a massive cost, and it's that exhaustion. We see high levels of autistic burnout, and these are, very important factors at play here. So they're using learned skills instead of coping instinctively. There's some skills that neurotypicals have that is intuitive, that is instinctive. They don't even know that they're doing it. They're required from a very early age. So that might be turn taken in conversation, it might be interpreting gestures, facial expressions, navigating the numerous unwritten social rules that govern interaction. Not to mention, that us neurotypicals, we don't say what we mean. We say we're just going to nip into a shop for 2 things and we come out with 40 or 50 things. We are quite confusing as individuals. So there's all of this to navigate all of the time. And it's not something that you find instinctive. It doesn't come naturally to you. You have to work really, really hard at it. So this can lead to an almost constant state of alertness and anxiety, leading to risk of mental and physical exhaustion. And I see, lots of adults sitting in my office and they're often quite pumped full of adrenaline. Actually, they're really sort of on full mode all the time, just to battle through the day.
All the more it is so important to be in the flow state regularly. Whatever interest or activity helps you to be in a flow state, it is so important. The term flow state describes a mental state in which a person is completely focused on a single task or activity. They are directing all of their attention towards the task, and they do not experience many thoughts about themselves or their performance. Some people refer to this informally as being in the zone. And this is a parasympathetic rest and digest state, because you feel relaxed, you are content, you are happy, which is the opposite of being anxious or stressed. Characteristics of a flow state. Focus. It is not easy to distract people in flow from their task. They may not be thinking about anything else. If a person or event interrupts someone in the flow, they may feel annoyed. Lack of self-consciousness. Flow is associated with a decrease in self-referential thinking, which means that a person in this state is unlikely to be thinking about themselves, their performance, or how others might see them. Enjoyment. People may enjoy the task, encouraging them to immerse themselves in it. Persistence. Some evidence suggests that being in flow can offset the frustration of a difficult task, allowing people to keep going. What happens in the brain during flow? During a state of flow, several changes take place in the brain. Studies have shown that the dopamine reward system plays an important role. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that supports feelings of motivation, pleasure, and reward. It can also help suppress bodily sensations such as hunger. People in a state of flow have higher levels of dopamine, which could explain why they might not notice that they are hungry or tired. How to get into a flow state. First, it is important to understand that a person cannot always put themselves into a flow state. Instead, it is more about creating the right circumstances for flow, which is about the environment. A person can start by thinking about previous occasions when they entered a flow state, and the factors that may have helped. For example, they might take note of the type of task, the environment, their mental state at the time. Once someone has a rough understanding of what allows them to enter flow, they can apply this to other tasks. For example, they might realize that they need a quiet environment. Allowing enough time. It takes time to enter a flow state, therefore it might be easier to use flow for longer tasks rather than shorter ones, and to block off a set period to work on them. Minimizing interruptions, very important. Distractions and interruptions make entering a flow state more difficult. People can ensure that they have uninterrupted time to work on something by going somewhere private, turning notifications off on their devices, telling others they will be busy, or blocking out time on their calendar. Practicing mindfulness. The skills that a person uses to become and remain mindful are similar to those involved in a flow state. Adjusting the task. Tasks that are dull, repetitive, or too easy may not induce a flow state. If possible, a person should try adjusting these tasks so that they are more enjoyable, meaningful, or challenging. Conversely, they can break down tasks that are too hard or complex into simplified steps. Summary. A flow state occurs when someone is completely immersed in a task or activity. It is a concept that comes from the field of positive psychology, although people have described it in different ways over the years. Positive psychologists regard flow as an important part of productivity and consider it beneficial for psychological well-being. People may naturally enter a flow state when they have few distractions, a task feels rewarding, and the task is neither too easy nor too difficult. It is not always possible to enter flow, especially if a task is boring or too easy. However, with practice, people can try strategies to induce flow more often as a way of aiding productivity.